Hello, this will be a video on the Inferno 4 stuff. I'll be going over perks, blessings, dump stat, and a build at the end. So starting off, I'll go over the perks. What you want to use are ranged critical strike chance, and then basically your choice of between Carapace, Maniac, and Flak. I personally use Carapace because of a trick that I'll be showing off with Uncanny Strike later on. So let's move on to the blessings of this stuff. So there are only three I would use, but I'll just go over all of them anyways. Run and gun, this isn't very good. There's a trick you can do with the 4 stuff, so I wouldn't use this. Penetrating flames is one of the 3 I would use as the second option. Showstopper, I wouldn't use. Warp Flurry can be good, but it isn't really good on this staff, honestly. Warp Nexus is your number 1 choice. You should use this on every build no matter what. Blaze Away is your second choice alongside Penetrating Flames. This is a choice you can make. I personally use Blaze Away, but I'll be showing off both of them, so you can make your choice of that. Terrifying Barrage isn't very good either, and then Focus Channeling is also terrible. So, let's move on to the dump stat. That's obviously Warp Resistance. This will let you get your Warp Nexus stacks away faster, and then you can obviously maintain that really easily, due to how this weapon functions, where you charge it up, and then you can maintain a high peril while you're still burning enemies. So let's just show this off first of all. So obviously your primary fire is just one burst of flames. This will actually stagger almost any enemy, obviously excluding Ogrins and bosses. So let me just show that off real quick. So yeah, I'll just show off some rages and maulers if I can find them. There, okay, so here's a mauler. As you can see, you can't just stop them. They obviously have a built-in stun timer, so you can't perma-stun them. But as you can see, you will actually stun them. So, oh, okay. So yeah, next time he does an overhead. Oh, okay. As you can see, it just stuns. Okay, and then obviously this works on rages too. So they'll just get knocked back. Rages can actually be perma-stunned. So yeah, that's really useful when you have a horde of rages coming at you. You can just spam that and they will die. Okay, so moving on to the secondary fire. This is you charge this up, and then you can let go at any time, but I personally always max charge it. So as you can see, it just lets out a gust of flames, essentially. Yeah, this is basically what you'll be using most of the time. Obviously you're applying stacks to everything. Also, this weapon actually has infinite cleave, so I'll show that off too. This weapon actually has infinite cleave, so you can basically kill an infinite number of enemies as long as they're in the same general area. So I'll show off a whole lot of maulers. So, we've got 30 maulers, 40, very high number. But as you can see, it won't matter to this weapon, because you just apply your stacks, and eventually they'll all die, as you can see. Yeah, they're all just dead within a matter of seconds. This weapon is just insane, obviously. It has infinite cleave, can kill an infinite number of enemies, does very high damage. However, it does have one weakness, and that is obviously crushes. So crushes are fully carapaced, which means they will take heavily reduced damage. As you can see, 12 damage at max stacks, 15 actually. They take 15 damage at max stacks. So yeah, that would do basically nothing. However, this is where our uncanny weapon will come in. This obviously works on any weapon with uncanny, so blaze force sword, dueling sword, etc. So we build up our flame stacks on this enemy, and then we build up uncanny on a different enemy, or the same enemy of course. And then as you can see, 137 damage instead of the original 15. This isn't at max stacks, I believe, so I believe it can go up to 170 damage about, but correct me if I'm wrong on that. Okay, so this weapon, obviously you can use it to stun everything. Yeah, so, okay. I'll show off that trick on a larger amount of enemies. Okay, so I show off a bunch of crushes. This weapon is still pretty slow at killing crushers even with your uncanny, but it's better than just not using it, and it's not too difficult to use when you get used to it. So we just apply a lot of stacks. And by the way, your push attack does actually proc uncanny, so that's something I will use a lot. It will only take effect when you're holding your uncanny weapon, so that you need to keep track of. Oh well, there go my stacks. It can be a bit hard to do, but as you can see, the enemies just start to die instantly. Except this guy. Okay, so that's basically it about this combo. Oh yeah, I'll also show off penetrating flames, same exact build, same dumpster, everything. I'm just using penetrating flames instead. So remember the original damage numbers on the crusher was 15 at max stacks, but now when we do this and build up to max stacks, it's 41. Yeah, 50 damage, yeah. So instead of 15, it's 50 damage. You can use this either when you're not using a what's good, uncanny strike weapon, or you can just use it as a substitute. Honestly, it works really well because it also applies brittleness to bosses, so then they end up taking more damage. Also, it just applies the debuff to like every enemy, so like most enemies will just take more damage in general. However, what makes Blaze Away so good is that it actually applies. So basically, Blaze Away, basically the Inferno staff has two weapon attack, two damage types. The first is the actual weapon hitting the enemy, which is the really big damage number, and then you have the obviously the afterburn, the soul blaze. And what Blaze Away does is it will actually boost that damage. As you can see, it goes like 300 about. So this will let you basically just like constantly spray into hordes, and this will just melt away their HP. So this is why I prefer Blaze Away. However, both options obviously work just as well. So use either penetrating flames or Blaze Away. Moving on to, I guess we'll just move on to our build now. I have two builds. I have the Oric version and the Havoc version. I'll start off with the Havoc version because it's just the meta. So this is the skill tree. We choose metal for toughness, regeneration, and obviously movement speed. This, you can use this if you wish. It will boost your initial hit damage. So yeah, let's just move down the tree and I'll show you what you could remove. You could remove kinetic resonance for perfect timing. Moving down the tree, we take all this. This will be very useful because basically every time you're spraying this weapon, you're basically getting crits per second. This means you're essentially invulnerable to ranged shots while you're just shooting into a swarm. We choose bubble because it's Havoc. And then you could remove kinetic deflection for perfect timing if you wish. We have to take this for the extra crit chance. And this just pairs really well with Psyker as a whole, this weapon. Warp Rider, obviously. And then we just go down here. We do not take this because we already have insane amounts of toughness generation through metal. And then we take In Fire Reborn. And a way this actually works is that you don't have to kill the enemy with Soul Blaze. The enemy just has to have the Soul Blaze status on them. So what you want to be doing in game is, I'll just show for the horde of Poxwalkers. All you have to do is just light enemies on fire, and just them dying in general will actually get you soul stats. So yeah, what you want to do is just apply it to everything you can, and then obviously focus down hordes, and then that will just kill them obviously. So yeah, this is the build for Havoc. What you want to be doing, your general gameplay loop will be, if I can show it off. Your general gameplay loop will be building up warp siphon stacks. You want to get about 6 stacks. That's obviously the max. It also boosts your damage, so yeah. You want to just get max stacks of this, if it will work, please. Also, as you can see in the bottom, the evasion and metal is applying. So once you're at 6 stacks, you can place your bubble. It only has a 16-second cooldown. And then alongside that, you'll have kinetic resonance, which will boost your brain burst speed, and you can basically just kill Dennis really easily. As See, that's basically the general gameplay loop. Obviously, you'll be using your force sword to like block bullets while you don't have your force shield up, and you'll be using just this obviously to kill hordes really easily. One problem with this weapon is that in purple, obviously it would just actually, honestly, it's not really a problem with this weapon. It's just purple in general. It's obviously that nothing will die until the purple enemies die. However, once those purple enemies die, the enemies all surrounding them will obviously have max soul blaze stacks, so they will usually just die instantly afterwards. So that's basically it with this build. Moving on to the non-Havoc build, this I just use in Oric. As you can see, we can be a bit more frugal with our stats. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this actually, Perilous Combustion. This will basically apply stacks to nearby enemies, which is really useful in Oric, not Oric, but Havoc, obviously because there are, high densities of elites and specials. So I'll show this off with just a bunch of rages. And we can just focus, I'll just focus down one side, so I'll just focus down this area, and they should just spread their blaze stacks to the others once they die. See, as you can see, it just spreads it on its own, and they just all die on their own. So, I would use this in Havoc, but honestly, Oric, you really don't need it, because everything dies anyways. It's not very difficult, there's no purple or anything. So, very similar build. You go down here, take Empathic Evasion, of course. And then instead of Bubble, we'll be using Venting Shriek. Obviously, this will get us, a way to quell our peril. But also, Creeping Flames actually has a special interaction with the Inferno stuff. So obviously, we can normally just stack to 16, which will get us pretty good damage, but we can actually enhance this damage further. If I get to high enough peril. Obviously, we're doing 48. We use that, and it actually goes. Okay, well that just didn't work at all. Okay, let's just build up our peril again. Okay, I'll just show off. Okay. Let's just kill this guy real quick, and then I'll show it off again. Okay, so let's get this guy to, max stacks. Do that. 40. We use that. Okay, I don't know why it's not working. Am I using the wrong thing? Strange. Okay. Well, what I'm trying to show off, if I had the mod for it, it would be really easy to, but basically what is meant to happen is these stacks from Creeping Flames are meant to stack on top of your base 16 stacks of Soul Blaze from your Inferno stuff. This will actually get you to 22 stacks of Soul Blaze. So you're basically just getting some very, very high damage. I could show this on a boss. It'll be a bit difficult to show. Obviously you can't see the exact damage values, but just look at the top and you can see, it's sticking at about, 200. So then we go this up. We use that, and now it's about 300, 400 a tick. A bit hard to see, but yeah, it's about 300, 400 a tick versus the 250-ish per tick normally. So yeah, that's where a Venting Shriek comes in. Obviously, it helps clear out hordes, keeps you safe, lets you constantly use this. Another cool thing you can do with this stuff is once you get to max peril with Venting Shriek, you can just charge this up. What you can do is you can build up, you can get to 100%, and then you can let it, just attack, obviously, and then you can just use it midway through, and you're just perfectly fine. You can just keep doing that. So yeah, that's basically how you want to use it. You want to just constantly spray, and then once you're getting close to 100%, you just charge it up to the max, and then use Venting Shriek to quell it midway. Warp Rider, of course. You don't really need kinetic deflection in Oric, but you could sacrifice some things to, get it if you want. Honestly, you should probably sacrifice like Empathic Evasion or something else like Perfect Timing for this crit chance over here, because honestly, you don't really need to be avoiding ranged attacks much in Oric. They're not very dangerous compared to Havoc, where you would obviously need it. So yeah, that's basically it about this weapon. It's just probably the best Psyker weapon in the game right now. Probably one of the best weapons in the game in general. Obviously behind BTs and Ogren. So yeah, that's just how I use this weapon in Oric and Havoc, and just how to use it in general. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.